damages is not 500 million. The first is 200 million naira, and there's a separate 1 billion naira. This is small compared to what these guys have done to me in terms of physical harm. In some cases, they even tried to assassinate me inside the cell at the FID. All these things were all covered. So I decided to sue them after I was arrested illegally, after the criminal Kanu protest we did in October of 2025, in which, as you all know, the police arrested us for exercising our fundamental human rights. It turns out that this particular court was where they came to seek the order to stop us from participating in the protest. But the judge, in his wisdom, said, well, you can ask for a certain area not to be touched, but I cannot prevent people from protesting. I was, after the protest, I was haunted all over Abuja. They were shooting at me, you saw it. And they arrested some people on the day of the protest. I went to the police station to get their bail. They refused their bail. And after I came back, came to court, they then arrested me right here in front of the federal high court, detained me at the notorious Abattoir detention center where SARS used to use. And I was detained in an open cell, developed malaria. Then I was driven to Kuje, some close to 40 kilometers out of Abuja, where they had sought and found a judge. And I was granted bail. But the judge was scared away from the court so that he would not sign the bail bond. And I had to spend that weekend. So before spending the weekend, the police, led by the anti-vice police squad leader, one CSP Barao, physically assaulted me within the conference, forced me into their vehicle, and took me to Kuje prison after I had been granted bail. So we said we've had enough. I had to spend 4 nights in Kuje prison. So that was the basis of this particular lawsuit. And our lawyer, Marshal Abubakar, you know him very well, is the one that's going to be doing justice to this, in addition to other competent attorneys. Human rights, to AK Musa is there, coaches here. Some of them have not resumed from Wali also, who have not resumed from the New Year holidays. So they are not here. It's a very competent team of attorneys from across the country. No one came from Ukraine this time around. It's a Nigerian one. So that's the basis for today's case. Again, I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming to cover it. And I hope we will see more of you. I want to say a small joke for the media. Anytime the federal government arrests me, I see the media everywhere. You find them in the toilet, some of them are hanging from the POP, everywhere. But whenever it is a case of Sowore versus, we can't find the media. I hope we develop the kind of relationship that will help you and help us cover this for posterity. I'm also in the media, so there's no basis for us to be separated. And whenever you get into trouble, I'm the first person who will go and defend you. I remember that when Channels TV had a problem with the Buhari regime, I went and sat in front of the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation for hours just to make sure that those who were invited to that very nebulous meeting made it home that day. Those were the days of the crazy Buhari regime and Malami. Now, interestingly, is the cell that Nnamdi Kanu's brother was staying when we were arrested in October, that Malami is staying. And he has refused to even process his bail. What he's afraid of is to tell you that whenever there's oppression, it will go full circle. So those of you who are in power, who are enjoying impunity, just know that
enjoying your own impunity now. The time is coming that the table will turn and all that. You know, sometimes, I think we've said that on this platform before as well, right? Sometimes I continue to wonder that how great would it have been if, for example, right, Sowore is in the media, okay? There are people who are in this sort of like a business as well could actually really help package a Sowore's message that could be more acceptable, more welcoming than and what it's been, you know, in the last few years. I mean, he's done so much, put himself in the arm's way many times, but people don't see beyond the aluta, sort of like the posture for him. Do you get what I mean? Like, oh, you can't be president. Or others will be like, oh, it's because they are afraid of him, they are scared of what he could do. Baba, there are those who could actually really package Showore's profile, I believe, right? That somehow it could put millions, or it should be pulling millions, you know, of some of these votes that it could actually be a real disruptor. But I don't know. I wonder most of the times, because those who condemns him, right, are the same people who have witnessed him stand up for most of the people they favor. They have their favorites, but they never see it beyond the aluta this, aluta that. You know, they don't see beyond that. You know, the leadership quality, the one that could actually look straight into the eyes of those in power, and you know, call their bullshit. But you never really get that massive support as it should be, fortunately. But yeah, you are left with the criminals, the career criminals who can tell you everything you want to hear. Anyway, like I said, it is already happening. Or like Mazi himself said, let's go back to the issue of the security, the insecurity, which has now prompted the American government to label Nigeria as a country of particular concern. This also comes with some other kind of like promised actions that a lot of people have found so uncomfortable. But again, the IPOB that continued to be the nightmare of the APC. I don't know, maybe it is transferred sort of like, you know, hatred, institutionalized hatred that Bukwari represented. It's still the same thing that is still, you know, disturbing and confusing call on what to do. Nnamdi Kanu is a whistleblower. The criminal politicians, especially the ones from the eastern part of Nigeria, who did everything to see if they could possibly buy him off and send him away. And once they failed, they decided, right, to weaponize the agitation, politicize it, and hang the entire thing on the Nnamdi Kanu. The government of Nigeria is aware of this. Do you get that now? So why not address the supposed concern that brought about this agitation in the first place? And then go after the ones that some of those in government are trying to tell you how to deal with. Kinetic, and all of that. While people are still being, villages are still being ransacked, people are still being kidnapped, killed, and the terrorists, well, they are just too many. The government can tell you that we are going after ISWAP today, and while you are reading the news of the ISWAP going after ISWAP, then you're going to hear that other groups, Fulani terrorists, other terror groups are already terrorizing other part of the country. So it just never ends, and there is no real consistency. They do most of these things for photo up and then. So address the issue rather than throw money at it. Because that's what they wanted to do with Nnamdi Kanu. They thought, oh, it's just one of those noisemakers. There were those before him finding something. And when that didn't work, right, he became a public enemy #1. And as much as they have tried so much, spent so much money, Bukwari spent millions of dollars to try to get the American Congress to agree with them that IPOB should be proscribed. But they couldn't. Now, Tifnubu is here now, right? If the problem is even bigger, because it's now all over the country. So rather than address these problems, they would rather throw money at it. And they are not working in the same kind of like purpose. Mazi.
It is happening already. I warned you and I told you. You may disregard the agitation for Biafra and tag it as nothing. But I'm warning you today. If you continue, the wrath of God will be upon you. As I warned the zoo many, many years ago. If you don't allow we Biafrans to go, that zoological republic called Nigeria will be a worse place than Somalia. And today it is happening. It is happening already.
It is. We now have, I think Somalia is even a little bit better than some part of Nigeria right now. You now have Sudan, Gaza, Somalia, all join inside Nigeria. So, one of the things that the American government is pointing out is that these problems are man-made and they can all disappear if your government wants them to end. It is an indictment on your government to say, oh, listen, yeah, you see all these killings, endless ones. People have developed different theories. They've developed the conspiracy theories, stories, lies, and half-truth and all of that, Abi. But do you know something? If those in charge of your government want this to end, in the next 6 months, it will end. But they don't want it to really end. And that is the problem. People are dying. Therefore, your government is culpable. Your government, if they are not, they need to prove it. But they are still not going to prove it. The Katsina governor, I told you, released over 70 terrorists just a few days ago. And they said it is their amnesty deals or something, because the terrorists in return, it was like a prisoner swap. The terrorists who have been caught by the authority, right? They were released, and the terrorists in return were to release their captives. Still in that Nigeria. Watch this.
And let the Katsina government tell me today how many of their commissioners, how many of the appointees at federal level, minister or whatever, who can go and spend 1 week in his town, in his birthplace.
Are you talking about most of the councils who have already negotiated peace agreements?
In their hometown. You are a district head with your Rawani, but you are not living there. You don't sleep there. So how can even the people respect you? How would the bandits even accept that you are serious in that matter?
Right, okay. So, Dr. Krufi, let's do this. In your view, who are the winners and who are the losers in this current arrangements as things stand right now?
No, we are the losers as human beings. Politicians are not interested in what happened to their people. Because now, what is it? You cannot farm. You cannot graze. You cannot go to the market. 70% of our schools are closed down. Some of the schools even are occupied by bandits. So who loses? But the wider losers are the Nigerian states. Because what is happening, killing of these people, it shows you in practical terms the totality of irresponsibility of the northern elites. Because here they are, or they come to Abuja, go to Lagos, steal money, perpetrate buildings, see what like Malami, 657 property. You know, craziness. What do you do is even though. So meanwhile, your people are being killed on a daily basis. So I think the southern elites, who are more serious than their counterparts, because they make industry, they make something that you have shown, I have seen in your TV showing the bar charts. And I saw also Gomi was taking of master plan. I thought, if you are making master plan for Almajiri, this is Almajiri in the north. So when you make the budget, you surcharge the northern states. Because why should the southern people be taking care of your own problem, which you have created? So the South elites also, they have to be a little more serious to protest. When you come and make this security budget, then the security budget, 70% go to the north because of the irresponsible nature of the this issue. It's a national thing, and equally so.
Yeah. So make I break that one down for you a little bit. Since this terrorism started about 15 years ago, gradually, the last 10 years, I've seen Nigeria part with more than 25%, a quarter of their national budget in their supposed fight against terrorism. Nigeria is presented as a very poor country that relies on aids from the foreign grant loans because the people are just too many. But in the midst of the supposed scarcity, the elite, like that man said, the elites from northern part of Nigeria are not really serious about ending this terrorism in their parts. And because of this, Nigeria has been drained so much money that could easily have gone into improving education, healthcare, and some other social infrastructures that could have improved lives. They just had to go and use the money to buy weapons. To make it worse, right? You could say, oh, they are investing in improving their military so that they could keep defending the country. But unfortunately, most of these weapons ended up in the hands of the same terrorists. The northern politicians, they are governors, they are lawmakers. They are more kind of like comfortable sitting and negotiating with these supposed terrorists that continue to kill Nigerians than to end them. Because in the long run, they make money, security vote money, this money, that money. So they don't even have to go and live in the communities affected by this terrorism. So if Nigeria is spending this much on security and spending this much on security, rather than get security, you are getting more insecurity. They're spending less on education, less on healthcare, less on other important, the infrastructural sort of like developments. So what that means is that you're always going to get a counterproductive sort of a country because the rest of the country is funding a war that the northern elite started. The rest of the country is trying to quench a fire that the northern elite started. And their body language in the last 10 years is that the terrorists seem to be even more important than the citizens that they are supposed to be serving. So like that man said, the southern elite should ordinarily have protested that this is not part of the arrangement of one Nigeria. Because you know what they do in Nigeria? They rob Peter to pay Paul. 70% of the Nigerian security votes goes to the northern part of Nigeria, but it never really brings security. The insecurity, the terrorism in northern part of Nigeria in the last 10 years, which has now spread all over the country, where you now have, even in Edo states, it's supposed south, as they call it, of Nigeria. It's got no border, shared no border with Sokoto, Katsina, Niger, or any of these supposed Fulani states in Nigeria, but yet they have lost their own people to the gunshot of these terrorists. They have lost their life savings just by paying ransoms to free their loved ones from these terrorists. So the northern Nigerians terrorism, right, which is actually a long story too, right? So for those APC, that brought them to Nigeria just to take power, that's also part of it too. So this whole thing that started from northern part of Nigeria, being funded by the southern part of Nigeria's money, because the production from northern part of Nigeria have so like reduced, if it hasn't gotten to non-existent level yet. Okay, agriculture in northern part of Nigeria have been destroyed beyond describable kind of like a level, right? Farmers have been slaughtered. Videos have been made of them. Others who escaped this massacre, this genocide, others who escaped have ended up in refugee camps. They are no longer farmers. So the rest of the country continue to fund this, give them allocations, share money to them, and the criminal politicians from that part, they were sharing the money with the terrorists in the name of negotiating for peace, paying for peace, and this is still Nigeria money. So the man is not wrong when he said the southern elite, They are comfy. So it's a point that they can actually really speak up and say, we need to renegotiate this country, this arrangement. If the Northerners and their leaders want the terrorism to end, not hide behind tribe, religion, and other nonsense that they have used to prolong this war on terror on Nigerians, right? So if they want it to end,